All right. Good evening, everyone.
Hey, good evening.
All right. Welcome to this program of Toefl and Ielts. Your host is Arnold. I'm going to take you through the introduction. We shall look at the expectations, and we are going to look at some of the success tips for English proficiency tests. And we're basically looking at the two proficiency tests, that is Toefl and IELTS. And straight away we're going to start. I'm going to share my screen about the PowerPoint I'm going to present. We are basically looking at the two English proficiency tests, and starting with the introduction. We're basically going to look at the introduction to Toefl. We'll look at the introduction to IELTS. Okay. I'm trying to share my screen. Yeah, can you see the PowerPoint? Can you see the PowerPoint introduction to Toefl and IELTS?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
All right, so let's begin with introduction to Toefl and IELTS. Basically, starting with Toefl, it is an abbreviation for Test of English as a Foreign Language. Test of English as a Foreign Language. And IELTS stands for International English Language Testing System. So these are the two tests that we have to undergo, the tests we have to do for various applications. There may be professional applications, there may be study applications, there may be for the case of immigration to different countries in Europe and all over the world. I'm going to explain more on this. So these are the two main English language proficiency tests accepted at universities across the world. So all universities that are receiving applications for students in the world, they basically rely on these two English proficiency tests. They test to know if you qualify to join the university in an English-speaking country. That is Toefl and IELTS. Why study Toefl or IELTS? Why should students or any other person study these tests? These tests are crucial for those seeking higher education, especially like students of A-level, students who complete A-level. Most of the students are seeking for universities all over the world, and they have to perform very well in these two tests. You either do Toefl or you do IELTS. For professional opportunities in English-speaking countries, people also have to sit for these tests. So one is, we have to do these tests because we want to join universities in English-speaking countries. And secondly, there are professional opportunities. People who have studied and have qualifications, they want to get jobs in English-speaking countries. they are also subjected to sitting for TOEFL or IELTS. It is not only for these reasons, there are also other reasons. For example, immigration. There are some people who want to immigrate to other countries, especially English-speaking countries. Those immigrants have to do such tests, TOEFL or IELTS. If we have that aspiration of shifting or living in another country, you may find you are subjected to doing TOEFL or IELTS as long as that country is an English-speaking country. And the other reason is that, of course, everyone would want to be multilingual. Everyone would want to speak more than 2 international subjects, languages. You may be good at speaking your native language, which may not be English. You may be a good French speaker. So why not add on another international language? That is one other reason why these tests are done. Scores in IELTS and TOEFL are accepted for admissions and immigration in 140 countries. That is for IELTS. And TOEFL tests are accepted in all over 160 countries. So that means that there are so many countries where these tests are accepted for admissions in cases of immigration. You want to stay in those countries, or in cases of further studies for students who have completed their high school and are applying for universities. Or it may be for cases of further studies. You have already completed, for example, your first degree, and you want to go to these countries. Maybe you have a scholarship. You do an IELTS test or a TOEFL test, and when you perform very well, you're definitely going to get that chance. That is why we study these TOEFL and IELTS tests. These tests test the 4 language skills. These 4 language skills are the ones that confirm that a candidate or a student or any other person that wants to move to these English-speaking countries is competent in English language. The first skill is reading. Second skill they test is the listening skill. And of course, to confirm that you know a language, you have to be good at speaking that language. And the 4th skill is the writing skill. We shall delve deeper into each of these skills to see the structure of a test of reading, the structure of a test of listening, speaking, and also the structure of the test on writing. What each of these skills entails and what is basically examined. Who needs to do TOEFL or IELTS? Like I've already told you, we have students who are applying for higher education in universities. We have people applying for citizenship, those are immigrants. And we also have people who want to be multilingual. We have people who want to get more qualifications other than the first degree. You apply, and once you are given that opportunity, then you do this test, you attach it on your other qualifications, and you complete your applications. Applicants whose first language is not English, regardless of their citizenship, all over the world, we have many countries where English is not a native language. So people from those countries have to do these tests in order to grab those opportunities in foreign countries that speak English. So tests are taken prior to the program's application deadline and application submission. So that means that the scores in these tests are attached to your application and you submit. This test helps you to secure university acceptance. It helps you to secure a student visa, and it helps to prove your English ability in professional organizations. And these organizations may be organizations that employ people all over the world. So there's no other way they are going to know your English proficiency other than doing Toefl or Ielts to get that job that you have been longing for. And what are the expectations? When considering Ielts or Toefl for demonstrating English proficiency, understanding the test format, scoring, and requirements of the institutions you are applying to is very crucial. You need to know the test format of each of these English proficiency tests. For example, you need to know what is in Toefl, you need to know what is tested, you need to know the scores that can take you to a good level in performance in Toefl or Ielts. And you need to know the requirements of the institutions that you're applying to. For example, most of these institutions will require you to have Toefl, they require you to have Ielts test. So it is essential that you know what is in each of these tests. It is essential to know how to score good marks in these tests. And it is also important to know, you first know the requirements of the university you're applying for, the requirements of that job that you're applying for in an English-speaking country. Both of these tests assess the four language skills, that is speaking, reading, listening, and writing. But the way they test these skills is what differs in their format and focus. We shall look at how Toefl is tested and how Ielts is tested. There is a slight difference, much as they all teach the four language skills. This is a simple breakdown of Ielts, what it entails, how the scores are awarded, and what is basically in Ielts. What do they test? The focus is designed to assess real-life English language skills with a focus on academic and general training. So real-life language skills are the skills that will help you to perform well once you land that dream job in an English-speaking country. And in terms of academics, this test will show your level of English proficiency in case you're applying for a university in an English-speaking country. There are also countries where people like migrants are required to first prove that they are at a level of a good English speaker. So these Ielts tests have that content that specifically tests general training, and they test the academic levels of students, and they also test real life usage of English in case you are done with your studies and you are looking for an opportunity, or you've gotten an opportunity in these English-speaking countries, then it would be good to focus on one of these tests, Ielts or Toefl, so that your language level helps you communicate efficiently in case you get to these English-speaking countries. The scoring, how are the scores awarded? That is a bit details. It is in more details. But Ielts uses a band score system ranging from 0 to 9. They grade you from 0 to 9 with each skill, that is reading, listening, writing, and speaking, assessed individually. They are assessed partly. Each of these skills is tested individually and awarded its mark. Then, apart from that, the test format, when you look at the test of Ielts, it has that academic component of it. The academic component includes reading and writing tasks, and a speaking test with a focus on academic topics. So the topics that are asked are majorly academic. Those are for students. Then for general training, like people who are seeking for jobs, people who are done with their studies, there is that component that contains general reading and writing tasks, and a speaking test that focuses on everyday situations. So this section is quite different from the academic topics. It is intended for everyday communications in everyday situations, but it tests reading, writing, and speaking. Then we have the listening aspect. This includes 4 sections with 10 questions each. There are 4 sections with 10 questions. That makes a total of 40 questions, covering social, academic, and professional situations. We shall get samples of these questions and go through each question and see what is required in all these questions. Then we have the reading aspect. It includes texts that are assessed in a comprehensive way, requiring you to suggest titles, sentences, right? And someone mute.
ahantu hasi dore ukandagira clutch ukayimanura imodoka urayimanura n'ahandi ukandagira
Someone to mute there.
Sport.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So reading aspect, it has the texts that are assessed in a comprehensive way, requiring you to suggest titles, complete sentences, or fill in tables. So here, you read the text. They are simple passages, not so difficult. They are comprehensive texts, comprehension. So they check your understanding of a text. They check whether you have understood what the passage is about. For example, they ask you to suggest the title of a passage. At times, they give you sentences to complete. or they give you simple tables to fill in. You fill in with the information that you have read from the text. Then we have the writing component. It has two tasks. This is in IELTS. The writing component has two tasks. We have describing visual information. This visual information is always presented in graphs, charts, or tables, or diagrams, and responding to the point of view or argument on topics. So it involves writing, and you are given two tasks. And you can see the information presented in form of charts, graphs, tables, or diagrams. We have examples of these that we shall be looking at, and we see how to answer them. We have the speaking component. This is a face-to-face interview with an examiner. You sit with an examiner, and it is a formal interview. It covers various topics. These various topics are both academic, and there are also topics on our day-to-day situations. So it is a speaking task whereby you have to express your opinions in terms of speaking with the interviewer. So they are able to know that your speaking is at a good level, or you still need to improve on certain aspects of speaking. That is with IELTS. Now, IELTS is not very different from Toefl, apart from how the format or the structure of the test looks like on paper. So whereas what we've talked about is for IELTS, this is Toefl. You can see they all test the 4 language skills. They all test reading, they all test listening, speaking, and writing. And the difference here, how this Toefl is different from IELTS, is in the way the marks are awarded. The total score in Toefl is from 0 to 120, with each skill scored out of 30. So we have the 4 skills. That means reading gets 30, listening is out of 30, speaking out of 30, and writing is also marked out of 30, making a total of 120. The test format, how does the test look like? In reading, this is a test that has multiple choice questions. They are basically on academic topics. So you choose the correct answer. The questions are given, and you are given A, B, C, and D from the multiple answers that are given. You read the question and you choose the correct answer. You are obviously given a short passage that you read, but the difference is that here you are given multiple choice from which you choose the correct answer. Then the listening component of this Toefl is based on academic lectures and conversations with multiple choice questions. So you'll find that in listening, you're given a lecture to listen to. You listen as the presenter is talking, and you also listen to conversations between people speaking together. Then after the conversations, you are given questions with multiple choice answers. The questions are about the academic lectures and are also about conversations that are carried out between two or more than two people. So the questions are based on these lectures and conversations. So you choose the answer according to the correct answer that you have had from the conversations. Then you have the speaking task. The speaking aspect is about a topic, reading a passage and speaking about it, or listening to a lecture and you talk about what you have listened to. There are questions that are asked about a reading topic. That will be a passage. You are given a passage and you are asked to speak about what the passage is about. Or it can be listening to a lecture. You listen to a lecture, it is online, it is given online. You have to remember that this test is done online and have to, listen carefully and make sure you understand, because time will expire and will not go back. So you listen, then you are given time. There is a recording after you're listening. As you talk about what you have listened to, you are recording yourself so that they check whether you're actually talking about what you have listened to in your own words. That is the speaking aspect, the speaking test. Then we have the writing test. This involves two tasks. It involves two tasks. That's the first one is reading a passage and listening to a lecture, and you write about it. You listen or you read a passage. This passage is given to you. Sorry is a very short passage. So you read it, and after reading, you listen to the lecture. After that, you're going to write about what you have read in the passage. You may paraphrase, but you have to stick to the point. You may use your own words, but you have to make sure that there is no difference between what you are writing and what you have read in the passage. You can as well listen to a lecture. After listening, you are given time to write about what you have listened. It may not be presented in a logical way like it is done in listening, but it has to be in a way that it is about exactly what you have listened to. Much as structure is important, you have to arrange the ideas you have listened to, like, when you're writing, what came first in listening has to come first in writing, so that you don't produce a distorted structure of a written text, of your written answer. Then the second task is writing an essay that states and supports an opinion. Essay writing, it has to state the opinion and also support that opinion. So it is in form of an essay. So this essay has to follow the structure of essay writing. It has to have an introduction, has to have the body. The body may have like 2 or 3 paragraphs, and it has to have a conclusion. Like we know the parts of an essay. This test takes 2 hours. This is Toefl. It takes 2 hours. They have to be 4 aspects tested in 4 hours. And Ielts test takes 2 hours and 45 minutes. So whereas Toefl is 2 hours, it's 2 hours, strictly 2 hours. It's online. And it has to be done in 2 hours and everything has to be finished. That is Toefl. For Ielts, it should be 2 hours and 45 minutes. That is what these tests are about. And we have basically seen a simple introduction of these tests. That is an insight that I can give you about these tests. And of course, for more information on how and what these tests entail, we shall have more about them. And what do we require to be successful? I mean, what are we required of to be successful in these tests? What is required? What are the success tips? What can you do so that you become successful in Toefl or Ielts? Of course, you have to give it all your energy. You have to devote. Once you register that you're going to do this test, then you have to give it time. You have to dedicate a special time so that you score highly. And how can we do all this? First of all, we know that they are testing the 4 skills: reading, listening, speaking, and writing. So, to be a good speaker of English, you have to dedicate part of your daily speaking time for practice. You have to practice speaking on a daily basis. Maybe you have a friend that you can speak with on a daily basis. You can, have time like in the evenings, you meet your friend and speak together. Speak English so that you become fluent in the spoken test once you are given that test. Then you have to focus on pronunciation of some words. There are some vocabularies. This test has, there is a practice you can do on pronunciation. There are always websites where you can go and download as many as possible vocabularies that you can listen to and pronounce after. You can practice that to improve your pronunciation of English language. And thirdly, expand your vocabulary and grammar. Vocabulary is the amount of words that you use when you are speaking a language. How to use them, getting exposure. You may read some books, get to know many words and how they are used. Then grammar is the rules of the language. The rules of the language, how, for example, a subject can be used with an object and a verb. Subject-verb agreement and also with an object. The rules involve proper usage of tenses. They have the conventions of using a language. And the fourth one is to master paraphrasing and summarizing. The writing test, for example, you listen to a text or you read a text and they say you write about what you have read or what you have listened to. So you have to learn how to paraphrase. To paraphrase means not using the exact words you have heard from a listening text or not using the exact words you have read from a given passage. When you're writing your own, you use your own words. But the topic, the idea has to be the same. that is paraphrasing. And summarizing, we have summarizing skills of writing a summary. Once we are into this, we shall also get exposure on the skills that we can use to summarize text. Use Toefl speaking samples. The website has so many samples, it has so many mocks, it has so many tests that you can use for practice, and they are available on the website that we shall share with you. And these are Ielts and Toefl speaking samples. They help you to improve your speaking skill. We have, like in anything that we do, time management is always very important. These tests, to pass them with good marks, they are online. They are always online. So you have to make sure that you use your time that is allocated to each test, and maybe you finish in time. Because when you're not reading or writing at a good pace, you are caught up by time. So time management is very essential in passing Ielts or Toefl tests. We have the next success tip is to develop a structured approach. Develop a structured approach. This is very common in speaking and very much in writing. When you're presented a passage to summarize, you are going to follow a prescribed structure approach whereby you don't distort the ideas in your text. When you are paraphrasing, for example, a text that has been given you, you have to make sure that the ideas flow well in order in which they are given in the original text as you're writing your own. Even when you're speaking, after listening or after reading a given text, you have to make sure that your ideas flow very well in a structured way, like they are given in a listening text or in a passage that you have read. So the ideas have to flow logically, they have to follow each other so that it becomes a coherent text, becomes a text that is connected as a whole, that flows well from the start to the end. So it has to have a logical structure. And lastly, you can enhance fluency and coherency in your writing, fluency and coherency in your speaking, so that you score highly in Ielts and Toefl tests. Fluency and coherency should be given much attention. This makes your text look like one whole. The ideas, for example, in a summary, when you're given a summary text, a passage to summarize, you first get your ideas, put them as you make a plan and make sure that they are following each other the way they are following in the given text. When you're speaking or when you're writing your own text, make sure that they are fluently written or spoken. They are coherent. They are joining each other logically to come up with one complete whole. Thank you very much. That is what I wanted to share with you today about the introduction, the expectations, and the success tips of Toefl and Ielts tests. Good luck in your endeavors. Thank you very much for attending.